In the realm of literature, few names evoke the same chilling awe as H.P. Lovecraft. His tales of cosmic horror filled with tentacled creatures and ancient unknowable evils have captivated readers for generations. Lovecraft's influence stretches far beyond the printed page, seeping into films, video games, and art. He is a master of dread, a weaver of nightmares. But what lay at the heart of his own darkness? Howard Phillips Lovecraft was born into a world on the cusp of change. The late 19th century was a time of industrial revolution, mass immigration, and scientific discoveries. For a man like Lovecraft, who craved order and stability, these changes were unsettling. Lovecraft's childhood was marked by both privilege and isolation. Born into a wealthy family in Providence, Rhode Island, he enjoyed a comfortable upbringing but suffered from poor health and a reclusive nature. His father, institutionalized for mental illness, cast a long shadow over his life. As Lovecraft grew older, his family's fortunes dwindled, leaving him with a sense of loss. He found solace in books, devouring tales of horror and the macabre. It was within this crucible of personal experience that Lovecraft's unique brand of horror began to take shape. His fears, both personal and societal, would become the lifeblood of his writing. Personal and societal would become the lifeblood of his writing. Howard Phillips Lovecraft's entry into the world was marked by a strange duality, a blend of privilege and profound isolation. Born on August 20th, 1890 into a well-to-do family in Providence, Rhode Island, young Howard's early years were comfortable yet solitary. His family home, a sprawling Victorian mansion, became both a sanctuary and a cage. His father, Winfield Scott Lovecraft, succumbed to untreated syphilis when Howard was just 3 years old. Winfield's decline was swift and terrifying, culminating in his confinement to a mental institution. The loss of his father left an indelible mark on young Howard. It fostered a deep-seated fear of mental instability, a terror that would later permeate his writing. His mother, Sarah Susan Phillips Lovecraft, became Howard's sole guardian, her anxieties further shaping his isolated world. Despite his solitary nature, young Lovecraft possessed a voracious appetite for knowledge. He devoured books on astronomy, history, and mythology. He penned his earliest stories as a child, his notebooks filled with fantastical creatures and gothic horrors. The Lovecraft family's affluence began to crumble when Howard was still a boy. His grandfather, Whipple Van Buren Phillips, passed away, leaving behind a legacy of debt. The grand Victorian mansion was sold, and the family relocated to a more modest home. This descent from affluence had a profound impact on young Howard. The loss of their social standing fueled a deep-seated resentment towards the changing world. He romanticized the past, clinging to an idealized vision of a bygone era. As a young man, Lovecraft's anxieties manifested in a rigid adherence to Anglo-Saxon heritage. He expressed these views openly in letters, his writings riddled with racist and xenophobic sentiments. These anxieties would later find their way into his fiction. Despite his intellectual gifts, Lovecraft's formal education was fragmented and incomplete. He excelled in certain subjects, but his attendance was sporadic. He never attended university, a fact that haunted him throughout his life. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were a time of unprecedented change. For many, these changes were a source of excitement and optimism. For H.P. Lovecraft, however, they were a source of profound anxiety. Lovecraft's beloved Providence was transforming into a bustling, multicultural city. Waves of immigrants arrived, bringing with them their languages, customs, and religions. This influx filled Lovecraft with a sense of unease. Beyond societal shifts, Lovecraft grappled with groundbreaking scientific discoveries. Modern astronomy revealed a vast, indifferent universe. Darwin's theory of evolution further eroded Lovecraft's sense of security. It was within this context that Lovecraft's unique brand of cosmic horror began to take shape. His fears, both personal and societal, intertwined with his fascination with the cosmos. His stories reflected not only his own anxieties, but also the broader anxieties of an era. The early decades of the 20th century were a time of immense transformation. The Industrial Revolution had reshaped the landscape. For Lovecraft, this influx of immigrants was deeply unsettling. Providence became a microcosm of this change. Once a place of familiar faces, it was now a melting pot of cultures. He yearned for an idealized past. This fear of the other became a cornerstone of Lovecraft's worldview. It seeped into his letters, often expressed in crude, racist language. He saw immigrants as a threat to his romanticized vision of America. This anxiety mirrored a broader societal unease. For Lovecraft, this fear found its most potent expression in his fiction. Lovecraft's xenophobia went beyond a mere discomfort with the unfamiliar. It was rooted in a belief in a racial hierarchy. This abhorrent ideology found a chilling voice in Lovecraft's writings. His private letters are replete with racist remarks. He viewed these groups as a threat to the purity of American culture. One of the most blatant examples is his infamous poem on the creation of niggers. This work is a vile expression of racial hatred. It's crucial to recognize the severity of his prejudice. It shaped his perceptions and influenced the monsters he created. Lovecraft's fear of the other manifested most vividly in his fiction. His creatures often served as metaphors for the perceived threats of cultural and racial mixing. Take, for example, the shadow over Innsmouth. The story revolves around a decaying seaside town whose inhabitants have interbred with a race of fish-like creatures. The result is a community of deformed hybrid beings. The transformation of the Innsmouth residents mirrored Lovecraft's anxieties. He saw in the mixing of bloodlines a corruption of what he considered pure and natural. Even Lovecraft's most iconic creation, Cthulhu, can be interpreted through the lens of his xenophobia. Cthulhu embodies the ultimate other, a being so far removed from human understanding. Lovecraft's fear of the other extended to the vastness of the cosmos. His stories are filled with a pervasive sense of dread. The universe in Lovecraft's vision is a cold, indifferent place. This cosmic horror stemmed from his understanding of science. He was an avid reader of scientific journals. While many found these revelations awe-inspiring, Lovecraft found them deeply unsettling. If Earth was but a tiny speck in an unimaginably vast cosmos, what did that mean for humanity's place? For Lovecraft, the answer was clear: we were insignificant. This cosmic indifference became a defining characteristic of Lovecraft's fiction. His characters often stumble upon ancient secrets. The result is almost always madness and despair. H.P. Lovecraft was a man wrestling with profound existential questions. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Lovecraft embraced atheism. He viewed the universe as a vast, indifferent machine. This perspective fueled a deep-seated cosmic dread. The early 20th century witnessed groundbreaking scientific discoveries. Astronomers revealed a universe far larger and older than previously imagined. Theories of evolution proposed a natural origin for life on Earth. For Lovecraft, these revelations were glimpses into an unsettling reality. He rejected the comforting narratives of religion. In his letters, he often referred to the universe as a blind, mechanical thing. This bleak worldview seemed to offer a perverse kind of comfort. This cosmic perspective permeates Lovecraft's fiction. His stories aren't populated with devils or demons, but with beings so ancient, so alien. These cosmic entities are utterly indifferent to human concerns. Their motivations are as unfathomable as the vastness of the universe itself. Lovecraft's most celebrated stories, those that cemented his place in the pantheon of horror literature, often revolve around encounters with this cold, indifferent cosmos. In The Call of Cthulhu, perhaps his most iconic work, a young man stumbles upon evidence of a slumbering, godlike entity, Cthulhu, whose very existence defies human comprehension. Cthulhu, a monstrous being of tentacles and scales, embodies the sheer alienness of Lovecraft's cosmic vision. Similarly, At the Mountains of Madness depicts an Antarctic expedition that uncovers the ruins of an ancient civilization, the Elder Things, whose technological prowess dwarfs humanity's achievements. The explorers soon discover, however, that the Elder Things were not benevolent creators, but indifferent experimenters, responsible for shaping life on Earth through a series of cosmic accidents. These stories, and many others in Lovecraft's canon, share a common thread. The realization that humanity is not the pinnacle of creation, but a cosmic afterthought, clinging to a precarious existence on a small, insignificant planet. His characters, often driven to the brink of madness by their encounters with the unknown, exemplify the fragility of human sanity when confronted with the vastness and indifference of the cosmos. Lovecraft's cosmic horror wasn't merely a literary device. It was an expression of his deepest fears, a reflection of his own sense of insignificance in the grand scheme of things. His monsters, often described as beyond human comprehension, became metaphors for the unknown, the unknowable, and the terrifying realization that the universe marches on, indifferent to our hopes, dreams, and fears. To grasp Lovecraft's cosmic dread, consider the personal anxieties that fueled his writing. His fiction served as an outlet for his own feelings of inadequacy and despair. Lovecraft struggled with poor health, financial instability, and social alienation. His brief marriage ended in divorce, leaving him feeling like a failure. His fear of madness, a theme in his stories, mirrored his own anxieties. Lovecraft's cosmic horror taps into our deepest fears, the unknown, our insignificance, and the fragility of our minds. One of the most enduring themes in Lovecraft's work is the idea that knowledge can be a dangerous and even deadly pursuit. His characters' quests for knowledge often lead to dark and unsettling discoveries. In Lovecraft's stories, the universe is a realm of cosmic indifference. To glimpse the true nature of the cosmos is to risk madness and despair. This terror of knowledge is exemplified in the Call of Cthulhu. Lovecraft's message is clear: some truths are best left buried. H.P. Lovecraft's presence looms large over modern horror and science fiction. Though he died in obscurity, his stories have achieved immense recognition. Lovecraft's name is synonymous with cosmic horror and humanity's insignificance. His influence spans from Stephen King's epics to Guillermo del Toro's films. Video games like Bloodborne and Amnesia owe a debt to Lovecraft's vision. Lovecraft's legacy forces us to confront our deepest anxieties about the unknown. While Lovecraft's influence on modern horror is undeniable, his legacy remains a source of considerable debate. His genius as a writer is intertwined with his deeply flawed personal beliefs. Creators grapple with engaging his work, acknowledging his brilliance while condemning his prejudices. Some adapt his themes, stripping away racism and xenophobia. Victor Laval's The Ballad of Black Tom reimagines Lovecraft's work, exposing its racism. The HBO series Lovecraft Country weaves his horror into a narrative about racism in 1950s America. These works show Lovecraft's legacy can be reclaimed and reinterpreted. H.P. Lovecraft's work continues to spark debate and inspire new interpretations, ensuring his place as a literary figure whose shadow stretches far beyond the confines of the horror genre. He tapped into something primal, a deep-seated fear of the unknown that resonates with readers even today, a century after his most celebrated stories were first published. Yet the question of how to reconcile Lovecraft's genius with his deeply flawed worldview remains a point of contention. Can we separate the art from the artist, celebrating the brilliance of his cosmic horror while condemning his hateful ideology? Or are his stories, steeped as they are in the anxieties of his time, too problematic to be enjoyed without reservation? There are no easy answers. Lovecraft's legacy is a tangled web of brilliance and bigotry, of profound insight and disturbing prejudice. To engage with his work is to embark on a journey into the darkest corners of human experience, confronting not only our fears of the unknown, but also the uncomfortable realities of our shared history. Perhaps the most fitting tribute to Lovecraft is not to shy away from these complexities, but to embrace them, to grapple with his work in all its unsettling glory. By confronting the darkness within his stories and within ourselves, we can strive to create a future where the cosmic horrors we face are not born from fear and hatred, but from a shared sense of wonder and a commitment to understanding. H.P. Lovecraft, a man both brilliant and flawed, left an indelible mark on literature and the human imagination. His tales of cosmic horror, born from scientific curiosity and personal anxieties, resonate nearly a century later. Lovecraft's genius lay in tapping into our primal fears, the unknown, our insignificance, and the universe's indifference. His stories force us to confront the fragility of human understanding, yet we cannot ignore the darkness in his work: xenophobia, racism, and elitism. Lovecraft's legacy challenges us to confront the darkness within ourselves and the world, to strive for a future where cosmic horrors are born